It is Friday, October 2nd, 2020, and this is the Pro and Con Show, and I am your host, Michael James Ott. As always, welcome to the show. It's always a pleasure to do the show. And again, it's me. I'm trying to be a good citizen, trying to talk to other people, have hopefully some influence on all of us trying to be a little bit better citizens, to take some time and get involved in our governance and to better understand the issues. I talk about the different sources of information that you can review on a daily basis, and unfortunately, only a small part of the information that you can see or is provided to you is actually what I call the true news, which is the who, the what, the where, and the when. Now, this was on network television back when I was a young person. There were only 3 networks, and all of them put on a single show once a day in the evening. It was about 30 minutes long, and during that 30 minutes, they provided the who, the what, the where, and the when. And then since then, we've had the advent of various cable channels and stuff like that, and those cable channels have tried to turn news away from what it was back when I was a boy, which was just a public service. These networks had to provide it. And so it was generally not a profit, making thing for them, but they tried to do the best they could. But it was really just trying to present the who, the what, the where, and the when with the greatest authority, basically. So who was the correspondent, or who was the news anchor, who would provide that in a way that would convince people that they were being truthful, and also in a way that people wanted to watch them provide that information. Well, now the cable news, cable channels have come, cable news and so on, and the internet now, even beyond that. And now we have all kinds of information that all calls itself news, but it's really very, very little. It's only tiny kernels of who, what, where, and when, and then the rest of it is opinion, prognostication, propaganda. Let me emphasize that last word, propaganda. Used to try to influence us, these different sources of information. They're not mandated by anybody, federal government or anybody else, to tell the truth. And quite frankly, often they don't. So I tell people, and in previous shows, many previous shows, I've talked about, if you're going to look at this information, and you do need to be informed. So go out there and look, but don't just, if you're, more of a conservative person, don't just watch Fox News. Watch Fox News and CNN, or try to adopt looking at news sources that are generally less biased, like those original 3 networks. Actually, mostly news, and then for that half hour a day, and then there's also like National Public Radio and sources like that. But look at, even then, always look at multiple sources, and if there's a particular event or a particular piece of legislation or something that's of interest to you, then please, God, please do not just watch CNN about it, or Fox News, or go to the internet and look it up on Breitbart or Huffington Post. Okay? Don't do that. Take some extra time. I'm not talking about 40 hours a week, but definitely a few hours a month. Take the extra time. The issues before us are more complex. They do not fit in 4 words on a hat or a bumper sticker. They are more complex, and you and I have to do a better job ferreting out the truth, the pro and the con. That's the name of the show, pro and the con, the good and the bad, the for and against, and listening to, yes, opposing views, because they have validity in our lives. We are in this together. We're in this together in this country, and our humanity, our species, lives on a global planet, and we influence each other, whether you like it or not. The people in China, the people in India, the people in Africa, the people in South America, and us here in North America, we all influence each other's lives on this planet, and to a greater and greater extent every day. We're in it together. We are, in effect, well, we are, even though we've tried to divide ourselves into tribes and countries and all this other stuff. In the end, we are just one. We are one species, one planet, and this is our one and only place. It's it. There's no other place to go, no other home. This is it, and we have to work it out together. So today's show is called Impossible. Impossible. So what is impossible? Well, this morning it was announced that, and I'll go ahead and show you the story here. Let me get this on the screen. President Trump and his wife Melania have both been tested for coronavirus, and they're both positive. Now, I'm sure that the probability that this is like because there are false positive tests or whatever, I'm sure that they were both tested many times before this story was allowed to be published. I'm sure that the president and his wife required to be themselves to be tested 10 times or 20 times. I bet it was a bunch before they would admit that they had tested positive for the coronavirus. And there's no way around this for them. I'm sure that they thought about it. Is there a way for us to get around this, that we don't have to admit that we actually got this coronavirus? Now, these folks, Mr. Trump and to a lesser extent his wife, they have been traveling along with their friends and their families and their staffs to handfuls of these public events where they're speaking to people, and the wearing of masks and the separation, the distancing between people to try to prevent the virus from making its way from someone that might be infected to someone that isn't infected. They've been doing this stuff for months, and with hardly any, in many cases, very little protection or only partial use of those protections. But they've been tempting fate, and the reality is, and lots of people now are reacting, and some of the epidemiologists are going, well, what did you expect? What did you expect? Do you think that it's impossible for you to get this virus because you're the president of the United States? And by the way, along the way, he had some close scares. There were staff members at a rally. I want to say it was Ohio or something, but there were several staff members, like 6 or 10 staff members that were tested positive for the virus, but yet the president did not test positive, even though he had been kind of in proximity to these folks. There had been some other cases where some other members of the staff, people in the West Wing of the White House, several members of the people of the West Wing. And oh, by the way, were they wearing masks at that time or using eyewear or face shields? No, they were not. And so step by step, Mr. Trump has had to begrudgingly admit that you need to take these safety protocols if you're going to prevent yourself from getting infected with this deadly, for many of us, deadly virus. And in particular, Mr. Trump's case, I think he's 74 years old. Let's see here. So they made the announcement on Twitter, of course, early this morning. And of course, everyone hopes that they're doing well and stuff like that. It doesn't say how old Mr. Trump is here. Let's see. At least it hasn't yet. Okay. Mr. Trump's age of 74 puts him at a higher risk from the virus. People in their 60s and 70s are at higher risk for severe illness. His wife is 50, so she has less risk. But still, only time will tell. Now, he's president of the United States, and he's also a wealthy person. So I'm sure that he will get the very best care. And things like there's this, you can get plasma from somebody that's had coronavirus and survived it, and now they have antibodies. So there's this, you can have therapies where you are given transfusions of plasma from somebody who's had the virus. And I'm absolutely sure, whether it's ever admitted or not to the public, that there's a whole litany of things that the doctors that take care of the president and his wife and family and his staff, I'm sure they have, I'm going to call it a playbook. They have a whole series of treatments that many of us would actually not be, we would not be afforded the opportunity to have those treatments. But I'm sure that Mr. Trump and his wife and the people around him will get special treatment. And, there's a part of that that's not right. We should all be treated the same. But there's another part of it is that the truth is that being president of the United States, you should be afforded some special treatment. It's a tough job, but two, there's just this continuity of leadership kind of thing, and the importance of maintaining the office and the integrity of government. That to some level it is appropriate, and he has like a security force that travels with him, well, for good reason. He is president of the United States. Now, if he was just like me, I don't need a security force traveling with me because most people don't know me. So I'm just walking down the street, most people are not going to, try to accost me in any special way. But when you're president, you can, especially this president who seems to take pride in fomenting anger and hate. There's people that, might try to harm him. And so, yes, he needs the special cadre of protection agents around him. So the last point I want to make about this particular news announcement is it would be interesting to see if Mr. Trump, and again, just like mental illness and any other thing, you don't wish any of these things. You don't wish anyone gets a coronavirus. You don't wish anyone gets dementia. You don't wish anyone gets cancer. You don't wish anyone has a broken leg or arthritis or any of the various maladies that afflict human beings. So hopefully he will come through this and be, just fine. But it will be interesting to see if he changes his demeanor toward this kind of thing. And I strongly suspect it depends on just how serious this gets for him. But there's also the part, he has a significant personality problem. And even though he goes through this and maybe he will become severely ill and then survive, if he comes out on the other side, it may, because of his serious personality disorder that he has, a lot of us would be moved. We'd be changed by having that kind of event in our lives, facing death basically, and a chance to reimagine our lives having faced the Grim Reaper. But he may, because of his personality faults, he may not change anything or even become worse. In fact, he may think to himself, well, I survived, therefore I'm even more godly, than I thought I was. But anyway, so Mr. Trump and his wife do have the coronavirus. In my mind, it was very likely that they're going to get it, given their activities. I think this is not a surprise for most, people with technical training, doctors, scientists. I don't think the vast majority are surprised at all that this has happened. And now we will see step by step what this means to the president and the country. Okay, so for the Pro and Con Show, my name is Michael James Ott, and until the next show, bye for now.